What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod, man, as we are embroiled deep in this season number 2 of this FCS Dynasty, man, and the games keep heating up. So we got some great action here in this episode, and I hope you guys are really excited for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel, as we will jump into the first of 8 games here, as we got South Carolina State, who just got back into the top 25 after a confusing loss to Delaware. They take on the Maine Black Bears, and those Bears, they're coming in hot and ready because we got an early fumble recover here. That's going to give Maine a huge opportunity to take the lead, and it looks like that defensive lineman just stripped Michael Hart. Didn't really touch him all that much. And now Flash Williams takes the field, looking to lead his troops down the field. He's going to throw a strike in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Maine. And the Black Bears take a 10-0 lead early, as there has not been a lot of scoring in this game to start this episode. So we'll cut it into the fourth quarter. Michael Hart does end up getting hurt. This is the backup quarterback, and Sean Jasmine could very well put a dagger in the South Carolina State squad. Been shut out to this point. They have a golden opportunity to really put this game away at this point, as Flash Williams is going to hand it off to the tailback, who tries to throw the football, but instead what he ends up doing is that he also fumbles the football, in which South Carolina State is going to recover it. So a little bit of life here for the Bulldogs here in this fourth quarter, as tailback's going to take the handoff, and he is going to be lit up like a Christmas tree by Brian Jones. And so, that being said, South Carolina State, they need their first string quarterback to come through, but they still are choosing to hand the football off to their tailback, even though, you know, the time is of the essence. And now they need a huge fourth down conversion. Looking down the middle of the field, and they get the first down. 4th and 15. And they actually get it. Absolutely insane stuff. Had a running back lined up against a linebacker. That's going to be a mismatch 9 times out of 10 because of that athletic difference. In South Carolina State, they throw an interception. The 3rd turnover of the day for this Maine defense, and they just might do it here. This would definitely put a wrench in the ACC Coastal Division. And South Carolina State, they are showing as ahead right now. They do control their own destiny, but if they drop this game, that would no longer be the case. Now that would go on Delaware, who would have control of their own destiny now, as we get a touchdown here late in the game that does cut it to a 1-possession game. But if they don't get this onside kick, then it's going to be barbecue chicken. It actually bounces quite a bit, but Maine is eventually going to go ahead. They are going to recover the onside kick, and sure enough, you want to talk about starting this episode with an upset. Maine, the Black Bears at home, take on South Carolina State, this top 25 squad, and Maine is going to win the football game. Absolutely incredible. And Maine is going to win by a final score of 13-7. A defensive slugfest for sure, as neither team really got much going in this ball game, but Maine does what it takes to win. So we'll see if we get any more surprising upsets throughout this episode, as we now check in on a team that we haven't sat back and watched since week number 2, and that is Tennessee State in conference play, going to go ahead and take on the Samford Bulldogs, which Samford started off with some hype when they beat Eastern Michigan, but they really haven't done much since. Tennessee State, meanwhile, this is a team right here that's trying to get back ranked into the top 25 for the very first time since that week 2, where they took a shocking loss to Indiana State, who did have the longest losing streak at the time. So we'll see if Tennessee State can win this game and see if this will be enough to finally get them back in that top 25. They are starting to receive votes as early in this game. How about an appearance from a custom player, Marcellus Lawless, one of the backup DBs here in his true freshman campaign. He just gets himself his first career interception. So congratulations for Marcellus Lawless, as later on in the drive, Brock Lawrence not only is going to stiff arm a defender into the next dimension, but will we also see a fantastic throw for a running back, frankly. Kind of reminds me of what Damian Tomlinson back when he was playing for the San Diego Chargers. As now we'll see if Tennessee State can go ahead and finish off this drive and get a touchdown on the board. As Lawrence, he's going to take it around the corner. He's going to get into the end zone. Touchdown, Tigers. And Tennessee State is going to hop on ahead of the Samford Bulldogs, taking a 7-0 lead early. Is now 7-0 in favor of the Tigers, as we see a nice throw by Travis Frazier, able to get it over the middle of the field to Aaron Hancock. It ends up being a 24-yard reception on the bootleg over on the left-hand side. We'll see if Samford can build on this, though, as we got 1st and 10 from the 41-yard line. As Frazier in the shotgun, he's gonna try to scramble upfield. He's got open space, but he fumbles the ball as he was trying to stiff arm somebody to finish off the run, and that is going to prove costly, as Tennessee State is going to go ahead and recover the fumble here. Absolutely just devastating for Samford, as they are trying to spoil Tennessee State in their hopes of winning the conference championship here in year number 2. But it looks like the Tigers, at least early on, are not going to be falling for the trap game, the good old-fashioned trap game, as the Tigers of Tennessee State have been looking extremely sharp here to start this game. Extremely sharp. As now, goal line situation once again. They did get into the end zone last time out, and hey man, if it's not broke, why fix it? We'll go ahead and get to the star tailback, Brock Lawrence, who follows his blockers into the end zone, and it's a 14-3 lead early as we get into the closing stages of the first half, as Michael Berry faces a little bit of pressure, gets it out to his receiver, and that defensive back puts on skates because he was absolutely turned around here. First of all, great pocket presence by Michael Berry, but yeah, that defensive back had no idea what hit him, though, as there continues the onslaught for the Tigers, as Samford, they do go free and out on their next possession, and Michael Berry is going to go ahead and notch yet another passing touchdown. That's going to put Tennessee State up 28-3, and not only do they get a big lead going into the locker room, they also get the ball to start the second half, and look at this. One of either an offensive lineman or a linebacker is playing tight end. I don't know what's going on. Usually you don't see tight ends wear number 53, but wide open. Gonna be a touchdown for the Tigers, and Samford just looking completely lost right now. 35-3 is the score at the moment, as we'll see if they go on that ground game a little bit more. But Michael Berry gonna drop back the pass once again, gonna launch this thing deep, and it is double coverage, but Jamal Thomas is going to moss both defenders here. 2-on-1. It doesn't even matter, though. Great job to high point the football, as now Michael Berry gonna try his chances again, but this time the ball does end up getting overthrown here, and it's now the second, or at least the first turnover that this defense has forced. Maybe this will help them make this game a little bit more competitive, as they're in the last few seconds of the third quarter. Travis Frazier's gonna launch it downfield, And Samford is going to finally get a touchdown on the board, as that will cut the deficit down to 25 points. As now, after a 3 and out, Samford's offense back on the field. We'll see if they can go back to big, but that's not going to help. Really surprised that they decided to run a direct snap like that when you really need to get big plays downfield, and you got to do it yesterday, right? So definitely a surprise there. We'll see if Travis Frazier can make up for it as he throws one over the middle, but it's going to be intercepted there, as that is the third turnover of the day that Tennessee State is able to force. Second turnover, specifically. No, all 3 turnovers have been Travis Frazier's fault, because he's fumbled the football too. Just a really rough day for him, as Brock Lawrence is going to make sure that they don't get any closer. Another touchdown, just to go ahead and, keep things on the safe side as of right now, as that is going to be, I believe, the third rushing touchdown of the day for Brock Lawrence, and this time he wasn't even touched. As Tennessee State is going to march on, they win their 6th game in a row after that surprising upset loss to Indiana State back in week number 2. They are now 6-1 on the season. As for Samford, their FCS playoff hopes, they might be dashed at 3-4. As for another FCS playoff hopeful, we go ahead and check in on this rivalry game between the Montana Grizzlies and the Weber State Wildcats, who come in 4-1, and they are definitely coming in competitive within the Pac-10, as they are just a half game behind. Whoever wins this game is going to really control their own destiny, or at least help control their own destiny. Both teams still have not played against North Dakota State, and that will, definitely will need to be sorted out here as we get into the latter stages of the season. But Montana is led by Derek Keefe, who, has had an up and down year, but mostly positives for his quarterback, though. However, Weber State has some other ideas, though. This time they are on their home turf, and they are not going to be messing around in this one, as we will go ahead and see Weber State strike first here late in the first quarter, as Mike Mitchell able to follow his blocks to the outside and ends up winning the foot race. That brother gone like a girl in a country song, as that gives the Wildcats a 7-0 lead. As now, Sean Washington, he's going to throw the ball downfield. It's going to be intercepted. Maybe this will get Montana going a little bit, as Michael Estes, he hasn't tackled anybody yet, but he's certainly a ball hawk. He gets his first interception of this game. We'll see if Montana can come back here and get a touchdown of their own on the board. As Keefe is in the shotgun formation, he fakes the handoff. It's a play action. Keefe thrown down the middle of the field, and that's also intercepted. I'm not even sure who that was supposed to go to, but Dante Parrish, he's going to get an interception in kind. And Weber State going to be set up in better field position. So all things considered, it was a little bit more of an arm punt for Sean Washington when you put everything into context, right? So we'll see if Weber State could get some points on the board, and they do. They end up getting a field goal on the board, and Montana now finds themselves down 10-0, but not for long, as that is going to be an absolutely huge touchdown pass, as Derek Keefe, he was on the verge of getting hit when he released that football and still threw it right on the money. So that's how the halftime score ends up being a 10-7 affair. But then things really start to go ahead and pick up here in the second half, though, as I thought we were going to have a little bit of Houdini, but instead we have a fumble on the field. Montana is going to recover said fumble and a chance to possibly take the lead, but not the case. They went 3 and out and settle for a field goal, as now it's all knotted up at 10 apiece here, as Washington drops back the pass, looking over in the middle of the field, and it's gonna be a touchdown for the Wildcats. Weber State jumps back ahead and makes it 17-10 here, as now Derek Keefe looking to respond right back. Play action. Got some space to work with, and how about this? Incredible dive by Jamie Bracey, who is going to make an incredible dive, an incredible effort, and will successfully get the football. And that's why I love NCAA 06, because you see that kind of effort right there from the defense. You don't really see that in NCAA 14, at least not nearly as much, as Weber State starting to pull away here. 24-10 game, as Keefe is going to throw yet another interception. Derek Keefe is cold, and this is a really bad time to have that to happen to you right now. This is not a good look, as Montana, they are in serious trouble of getting upset. For the second time this season, they did end up losing to Southeast Missouri State in convincing fashion earlier in the year. And Keefe trying to prevent that here on the road. But that being said, another interception for Derek Keefe. And it might be an uncomfortable question. Do you bench him and go to your backup quarterback? Because Derek Keefe, he simply does not have it today. But we'll find that out after we check out the offense for Weber State. Backup quarterback in the game, as Sean Washington does end up getting hurt, but it doesn't really affect the offensive production all that much, as backup quarterback does a great job here keeping his eyes upfield. It is now 31-10 in favor of the Wildcats. Just a quarter away from pulling off the best win that Weber State has had in this series so far. Their first top 10 win, and it looking even more likely as that ball gets put on the ground, and it is yet another turnover for the Wildcats defense and special teams, and a chance to put in a late dagger. 1st and 10 from the 21, throwing over the middle of the field, and it's caught. Touchdown Wildcats! In Weber State, making it known that they are a force to absolutely be reckoned with within the Pac-10 conference, as they now take a 38-10 lead here, and a chance to extend that even further. Dropping back, looking, got some time. He's going to launch another one, but this one does end up being intercepted. I am surprised that Montana has not forced more than 2 turnovers. You saw those hurries. The quarterback has been pressured 19 times today. I've never seen anything like it, and yet still find a way to be on the verge of winning this game. You know, we're getting down to the last minute or so here, but, you know, of course, we'll see if Montana can get maybe one last touchdown and, you know, maybe, just maybe, make the scoreboard look a little bit easier on the eyes, because this is not a good look for Montana. Getting upset for the second time this season. I'm pretty sure both games are on the road too, which is why Montana, they really need to get a top 8 seed. That will help them navigate the FCS playoffs, whether they get in as an AQ or whether they get in as an at-large, should they not win the conference. But that does not take away from the fact that Weber State, they played a really excellent game in this one. They win by a final score of 38-17 here, and that will indeed be enough to push the Wildcats to an incredible start. They're now 5-1 on the year, and if you ask me, that should be enough to get into the top 25. They definitely deserve it. Meanwhile, Montana, they'll drop their second game of the season. So we now check in on a team that had a really impressive win last week. Eastern Kentucky, they did end up beating Southeast Missouri State convincingly, and they are literally one more win for them should be enough. They're ranked number 26, so they're just on the verge of getting into the AP top 25, but they got to take on the defending champions of the Big Ten Conference. They're taking on Tennessee Tech, who was the Big Ten representative to the FCS playoffs back in season number 1, as we will go ahead and see both teams go ahead and take the field, as Eastern Kentucky is going to be led by Ryan Perkins, who is currently in the Heisman finalist conversation as one of the best players in FCS football right now. but he's going to have to wait a little bit as Tennessee Tech is going to receive to start this game as we are officially underway in the bright lights of Tennessee as we got a kick return to start this game. How about starting with a spark? And we're going to get one right here. Touchdown, Golden Eagles. And how about sending a message within the first 10 to 15 seconds of the game? Tennessee State going to be up 7-0 early, but we thought we were going to see a mistake here. Ryan Perkins, I guess, not receiving the punt there. At least not for the punt return game this time around. And it ends up getting fumbled. Vincent Fortinat, he's going to be able to help this team cash in after that muff punt debacle. And Tennessee Tech showing why they were the defending champions of the Big Ten Conference. They jump to a 14-0 lead. As now we jump into later in the first half, against the last couple of minutes, as this could be some trouble now, as it looks like it lands in the hands of a dangerous receiver, and that brother is gone. Mama, there goes that man. Touchdown. Tennessee Tech make that 21-0 here, as it gives plenty of wiggle room for the freshman quarterback Chase Jones, who still is going to get a really nice play downfield to help his team extend this lead even further. Literally, all you have to do is not turn the ball over. You get a certified free possession lead. And what did I just say? Did I just jinx the freshman quarterback Chase Jones? I'm pretty sure I did right there. The idea was there, just that receiver needed to be back in the end zone a little bit more. But regardless, still a pretty good lead here for the Golden Eagles, but a little bit of trouble in paradise now, as Eastern Kentucky recovers the fumble. They start their next drive in the red zone. Is this the time where we go ahead and see them start mounting the comeback? As Chad James, he's going to drop back, looking over the middle of the field, and a diving catch. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. Will this be the spark that they need to get back into this game? We'll see if Chase Jones has something to say about it. And he's got a clean pocket to work with. He's going to throw one as well. And he'll also have a touchdown pass. And Tennessee Tech, they will go ahead and respond right back. 28-7 in favor of the Golden Eagles. And now the Colonials are in trouble here, as now 1st and 10. James gonna go ahead and run it upfield, and it's gonna be caught. No, not caught. It's gonna be fumbled. Oh no. Tennessee Tech, they might be going ahead and running away with this game right now, as now Tennessee Tech, they take over. They don't get any points on board, but Eastern Kentucky, they need to get things going quickly, and this is not it. Chad James throwing a costly interception there. Troy Vogel responsible for the INT, and a red zone chance for the Golden Eagles to make this lead even more insurmountable. Should they be able to execute on this drive. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Jones dropping back. He's got time to work with, as Eastern Kentucky does not send too many people. Only a 3-man rush there. But the secondary does lock things up a little bit, as we see a nice play here in the back of the end zone, able to deflect the football away, as that was too high to be caught. As now Jones tries again here on 2nd and 10. Gonna throw it towards the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Golden Eagles, 35-7. And that touchdown will mean one thing and one thing only. It is going to be barbecue chicken, as 1 week after we see Eastern Kentucky take down the highest ranked team in the Big Ten, we now see the same happen here in week number 9, as Tennessee Tech takes down the highest ranked team in the Big Ten in Eastern Kentucky. I have no idea how the Big Ten is going to play out. It seems like, once again, it is going to be a really open conference. Really interesting to see how things shake out. But now we go further down south, where we go ahead and take a look at a SEC matchup that could have critical ramifications for that conference moving forward, as the number 20th ranked Georgia Southern Eagles is going to go on the road to play against McNeese State. And these were both two teams that did end up making it to the FCS playoffs back in year number 1. We're going to see this regular season matchup as both teams here ready to take a field, and both teams are at a crossroads right now. We saw Georgia Southern, they're down to 3-3 on the year. It's been a turbulent season for the Eagles, whereas McNeese State also struggling to tread water as well. So whoever wins this game is going to help go about getting their season right, get themselves back in a position to be more secure in the FCS playoffs. And it starts with taking care of the football, as Ikeda Woods just spikes that football into the ground. Really shocking to see that, to be honest with you. And McNeese State is going to go ahead and take over because of it, as now Cowboys trying to take advantage of the turnover, but it's going to be intercepted. Just threw it up there for grabs, and Troy Willis tracked it like a center fielder, and that is going to be probably the easiest interception that he's going to have in his entire career. There was literally no one around him. It seemed like that ball was overthrown by 10 yards at least. And now it's Ikeda time, getting it out to his favorite tailback, Albert Miniachi, and Miniachi is going to take it into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And right before we get into the end of the first quarter, Georgia Southern will take first blood, as everyone was focusing on Ikeda Woods. But you got to have somebody on Albert Miniachi at all times, or otherwise it's going to be a long day for you on the defensive end. As we see Georgia Southern with yet another drive downfield, Ikeda going to run it out on the perimeter, and he will go ahead and get a rushing touchdown of his own. Make that 14-0, as he will make up for the fumble that he had last time his team was in the red zone. And now it's a 2-possession game, as the Cowboys trying to get anything going here, but they can't do anything with the passing game, and they can't do anything with the running game as well, as they put the football on the ground. And it's going to turn into a dangerous situation here, as Georgia Southern has a chance to go ahead, and this game could very much get out of hand extremely quickly, as Miniachi is going to take the handoff. He's going to get it into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And it's already 21-0. And that is a dangerous prospect, because one thing that Georgia Southern is good at, they like to take care of the football. They like to dominate the time of possession. And right now, we are certainly getting that right now, except they're also putting the football on the ground a little bit. McNeese State's defense is going to respond here, and a chance to maybe finally get some points on the board. Would love to see that. Is now 1st and 10. Dropping back and look over the middle of the field. It is going to actually be caught. And for the first time today, the Cowboys are in striking distance of getting their first points on the board. We'll see if they can build off of this now. Dropping back, but going to be pounded into the ground, as Georgia Southern here is going to get their 4th sack of the game. In the first half, by the way, this guy has taken a beating, and it's not going to stop as he gets on the ground again. And this time, he forgets about that football too, as Georgia Southern, they're going to go ahead and keep it 21-0 as we go into the second half now. Or at least that's what we thought, but we see a rare pass. No, it's Ikeda Woods on the run. He is going to be gone, as mama, there goes that man. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. 5'6", and no one could catch him. That's what you get for having such a dynamic quarterback. Probably the best player in the FCS series that is probably not having any opportunity to go to the NFL. He probably will be held back because of his size, but you can't deny that this kid has some serious heart as he gets yet another rushing touchdown for the Golden Eagles of Georgia Southern, as it's now a 35-0 lead. Didn't even need a pitch, man. He saw the open space like he knew no one's gonna catch him. No worries about that. As McNeese State continues to extremely struggle in terms of getting any offensive momentum, so they got to go ahead and punt the football away on a 3-and-out nonetheless, and that is not a good punt. This is a bad situation as you punt it right into Albert Miniacci. Easiest punt return for a touchdown that he is going to get in this game, as Georgia Southern is going to march all over McNeese State. They win 63-7, silencing the naysayers for the time being. So from one SEC team ranked in the top 25 to another team that's now ranked in the top 25, we got Northwestern State. Now, we saw Northwestern State beat Georgia Southern, and that did give Northwestern State the 25th and final ranking in the AP top 25. But they got to take on a team in the Furman Paladins, which traditionally in Sim, they have not been very good in the Sim so far here in the first couple of seasons in this dynasty. However, that being said, we did see them once in season number 1, and they pulled the upset on Southeastern Louisiana back when they had some serious hype. We'll see if they can do the same here to this Northwestern State squad, as they got a combo in Daryl Robertson as well as Willie Gates, as Gates is going to take the handoff here early, but he gets chopped down, and it causes him to fumble the football. So Furman is going to stand up. They're going to bend a little bit here as they were driving deep in the Paladin territory, and they're going to be able to move downfield and get a field goal off of that. So a 3-0 lead for the Furman Paladins, but watch out for this Northwestern State offense. They know how to run that football. They have a traditional run game, but hey, if it's not broke, why bother to fix it, you know? As we got a 1st and 10 coming up. Robertson under center. He's going to hand... No, it's a play action here. Throwing it towards the end zone, and it's caught. Looks like one of the offensive linemen, converted tight end, is going to make this catch in the end zone. Absolutely incredible. The creativity that some of these FCS schools do end up having, as Northwestern State now with a 7-point lead, and it's going to grow even more, as not only do I have an interception, but it's going to be in the end zone. Touchdown, Demons. And this defense, no pun intended, on demon time right now. The defense scoring more points than the Paladin offense here, as it's a 17-3 lead going into halftime. As we now go ahead and jump into the second half of action here, as we will see Furman receive that second half kickoff, and we're gonna hopefully see maybe St. Poe get a little bit more love here in the second half, but we might have to wait a little bit longer here because we get a kickoff return for a touchdown. That is exactly what Furman needed to get themselves right back into the game. It's just a 7-point deficit, but Gates has something to say about it, as no, he's going to actually be another play action. And look at this. There was a deflection. It lands right in the hands of the fullback. The fullback. Like, sometimes it's just better to be lucky than it is to be good, you know. It sets up a red zone opportunity for the Demons. And listen, fullback made an incredible play in the open field. You got to reward him after that effort. So we see the fullback get a little bit of love here, get into the end zone, and not the expert somewhere out there smiling, knowing that fullback U is alive and well down here at the FCS level. Is now 2-touchdown lead for the Demons, as we'll see if Willie Gates is going to get this handoff. He is on a mission, as no, he's actually going to go in and block here for the backup tailback, as the backup tailback is going to get into the end zone. Touchdown, Demons. Willie Gates there was used as a decoy. So for the backup tailback, no problems whatsoever. O'Neal makes it 31-10. As now Northwestern State's going to kick this football away to Furman. Once again, as we saw, one special team touchdown for the Paladins in the first half. Are we going to see two? We're going to see two. Back to back. Like a Drake song. Depth of 20. The 10. The 5. Touchdown. Furman. As Eric Penny, with over 400 yards of total offense today, single-handedly keeping his squad in the game against the 25th team in America. But time becomes an essence, and trying to run down the clock. Look at this. Daryl Robertson, he was in all of that traffic there. And yeah, what we ended up seeing is no one tackles him. No one tackles him, so he's able to Houdini his way out of that. Like, there's no shot that should have been as big of a gain as it actually was. And now it's going to set up possibly another touchdown for the Demons right now to put the dagger in. And sure enough, that's exactly what we're going to see. A dagger in the hearts of the Paladin faithful, as Willie Gates is going to find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Demons, as it makes it 38-17. That's even with him slipping a little bit when he first carried the football. So we'll see if Furman can do anything outside of that kick return gain. That's not going to help, as that man was just absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. You know, dude had to take over when James Muro ended up going to the NFL, 4th round pick for the Cleveland Browns. As William Gates is going to make sure that they are kept at a far away distance, as William Gates shows out as well, over 300 yards of total offense, as the Northwestern State Demons prove that they do end up going ahead and winning this game by a final score of 45-17. The Demons going to absolute work, and sure enough, they are on that warpath. To go back to the SEC Conference Championship game, this was a team that did end up appearing in that championship game in year number 1, but they were eliminated from FCS playoff contention when they could not win that game on a last-second field goal. This team certainly on a mission, and we saw it here, improving to 6-1 on the season. So one of the last games that I wanted to check out before we check out some scores around the league is this another Pac-10 action game here, as we see Sacramento State, who comes in around 500 on the year. They go on the road to take on the number 3 team in America right now, North Dakota State. As they take an updated look at the Pac-10 standings, Weber State standing alone right now, so it's important that North Dakota State continues to take pace, as North Dakota State will have to play Weber State next week for week number 10. But in the meantime, they just got to make sure they got to focus on the opponent that is ahead of them right now, the Sacramento State squad. As Ferguson, he's going to drop back to pass here. He's going to find his tight end. Yeah, that's the tight end. Really gives me Walmart brand Kyle Pitts energy. And we saw a little bit of it right there, as Oliver, you know, running routes for the squad, able to get a touchdown there, as North Dakota State takes an early 7-0 lead here, and it might grow bigger as we get an interception, although almost saw them cough up that football again. Reminds you of what happened in the real SEC championship between Florida and Alabama a couple of years ago, when that Alabama squad did end up winning the national championship, except it does not go the offense's favor. We will see North Dakota State get yet another basically red zone opportunity right outside the red zone right now, as they get it out to Anderson, and Anderson gets lit up like a Christmas tree. Oh my! I'm surprised he's not seeing stars after that hit, but he's a tough kid. Watches those hockey highlights. He will remain in the game, as Ferguson, he's going to throw an interception. He can't catch him either, and this is going to be taken right back to the crib. Touchdown, Sacramento State. And wait a minute now. We know what was happening in terms of Pac-10. Weber State and North Dakota State next week. Trap game Dare I say it? We'll just have to watch the rest of his game and see what happens as Ferguson gets his guys rallied up. They will respond with a touchdown, 14-7. But midway through the second quarter here, things are still tight. Sacramento State, if they can get their offense going, watch out. This team could be in some trouble, but unfortunately, the Hornets end up going 3 and out on their next possession. As we'll see, Mike Sapp take the return, and he is going to be cruising down the sideline. Touchdown, Bison. Make it 21-7 as the Bison are really looking to pull away right now. Before we even get into that halftime locker room, 30 seconds left here. Can Sacramento State mount any kind of offense? But instead, it gets intercepted. And who else? The true freshman at linebacker, John Paul Anderson. Gotta dance his stuff as he just gave a ton more momentum for his Bison squad. And really a chance here to possibly go ahead and make this 28-7 before we go into halftime. Ferguson dropping back the pass. He gets it out to Oliver. Quickly attacking the seam and finding the end zone again. Touchdown, Bison. Make that 28-7. And oh boy, are things starting to get out of hand quickly as Ferguson pitching it out to Anderson in the second half. He'll find the end zone as well. His second rushing touchdown of the day, as it now makes it 35-7. Shout out to Ron Montez, by the way. He set that last block to make sure that he was going to go ahead and get to the end zone. And this defense absolutely suffocating. Corey Hall, the Sacramento State quarterback, doesn't know what to do. They can't pass the ball. They can't run the football either. It's just been a really messy day. Wow, words are hard. But now, Sacramento State, we're going to get a stop on defense, and they forget about the red zone threats. Mike Sapp, who just for show is going to dive right into the end zone. He's going to do some slip and slide action. Touchdown, North Dakota State. It is now 42-7. They're on the verge of the 50-burger. But wait a minute now, Sacramento State might show a little bit of life as Brad Davis will get his second interception of the season. I don't know why they're celebrating that much. You're down by 35. It's a little bit cringe to look at. But Corey Hall and company, a chance to go ahead and possibly get more points on board. Gonna throw across his body, and it actually works. That actually worked. Are you serious right now? That's crazy. And so Sacramento State, they might get their first offensive score of the game. We'll see if they can do just that. As now, 2nd and 7. Hall facing pressure, looking to the back of the end zone, but it's going to be broken up by Leon Rushing there, who won Player of the Week back in, I believe it was week number 8, possibly. As now, 3rd and long coming up, 3rd and 7, matter of fact, as Hall dropping back, looks over the right hand side. It's intercepted. It's intercepted. And now we're going the other way. Nobody around him, and he's gonna be gone. Touchdown, North Dakota State, as that's the longest interception return of the entire season there. A 104-yard return, as North Dakota State, they will have no problems dealing with Sacramento State, winning by a final score of 56-14. So it's been another exciting week of gameplay, but before we jump into the game of the week, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the notable scores throughout the NCAA, just to see what's going on around the league, starting with the number 5 ranked James Madison Dukes. They went on the road against the Hampton Pirates and easily took care of business, winning 56-24. A blowout for the Dukes that gets them to 6-1, while the Hampton Pirates fall to 1-6. As for Western Michigan, keeping up with the blowout so far, they hosted the winless Illinois State Redbirds, and Illinois State continues to search for that first win yet again, as Western Michigan wins 46-14. Illinois State now goes down to 0-7. As for Ball State, they nearly lost their first game of the season. They barely beat the unranked Ohio Bobcats 9-7, and it wasn't won off of field goals. Oh no, the game-winning score was a safety. Imagine that. Ball State remains to be undefeated. As for the Tulane Green Wave, they scored a little bit more points in their conference matchup against the Northeastern Huskies, winning 38-22 as Northeastern drops to 3-5. The Buffalo Bulls, meanwhile, come in ranked number 14 in the country. You can quickly see why, as they completely blow out Western Illinois in this one, 65-3 being the final score, which means the Buffalo Bulls will remain undefeated. Speaking of getting some wins while being ranked in the top 25, we got the Rice Owls going on the road to play against the Charleston Cougars, and Rice ends up winning this one 28-14. The Charleston Cougars falling to 1-7. Speaking of a team that was ranked in the top 25, though, we got the Southern Jaguars, who had a rivalry game against the Jackson State Tigers. Now, Southern, far from what they were in season number 1, but still a positive way to get something going in year number 2, as Southern beats Jackson State 38-7. For the Atlantic, meanwhile, also undefeated. They played Arkansas State in Sun Belt Conference play. They win 28-16 and go to 7-0, their best season yet in this series. With a matchup of unranked teams, UL Monroe taking the doors off of William and Mary in this one, as UL Monroe wins 48-17. The Tribe now falling to 2-5, unfortunately. As for the Temple Owls, they were just reintroduced back in the top 25, as the Temple Owls win 52-24 against the Richmond Spiders, who fall to 2-6. Meanwhile, Mid-Tennessee State might be in some danger of falling out of the top 25 as they drop their rivalry game against the Ragin' Cajuns, as this 2-5 squad pulls the upset against the number 18 team in FCS football. Not worried about upsets, though, is San Diego State, as the number 1 team in college football plays against the winless South Dakota Coyotes. In South Dakota, still also searching their first win of the year. They lose 42-26. San Diego State, meanwhile, 8-0 and still undefeated. Speaking of chasing that FCS playoff spots, we got Eastern Michigan on the road to play against an improved Indiana State squad, but Indiana State does lose this home game against the number 9 team, 43-29, now falling to 3-4. Also in the top 5, we got the New Hampshire Wildcats, who will still remain undefeated after taking on NC A&T State, winning 31-14. The Wildcats now 6-0, while the A&T Aggies fall to 500 at 4-4. Idaho also looking to stay in the top 25, and they do end up winning a shootout against New Mexico State, winning by a final score of 49-35. And finally, the last game that I want to talk about before going into the game of the week, we have Kent State, the defending national champions, taking on Southern Illinois on the road, but winning 34-10. The Salukis will fall to 2-5. So for the final game of this episode, we actually have the game of the week, which features 2 top 10 teams in the Conference USA, and it has severe ramifications, as well as we got the East Division standings popping up on screen. UCF and Eastern Carolina basically playing to control their own destiny to go to the Conference USA Championship, and also therefore play for that automatic qualifier spot to get into the FCS playoffs in year number 2. And it looks like Lee Corso going to be rocking with UCF here in the game of the week. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it, as Ricky McFadden, he is going to start off really well, get a nice throw over the middle of the field, and his receiver is going to go ahead and do the rest of the work. So now Eastern Carolina, they strike first and not wasting any time in doing so, as the Pirates will take a 7-0 lead here in the bounce house of Central Florida. And we'll see if we see that strong start continue as we get later into the first quarter. Get it out to Wilson on the edge, and he gets to the outside, and he will get a toss in the end zone. Touchdown, Pirates. Make that 14-0 early. The former #1 team in all of college football, they came to play, but so did UCF. Their starting quarterback, he's back. He was injured back in week number 2 in that matchup against Georgia Southern. And now that he is back, we'll see if he's the missing piece that will lead Central Florida to a national championship game. And he's looking good, able to find his receiver, get a huge touchdown there. Cuts it down to 1 possession. Next one, Tyrone Smith again dropping back. Plenty of time to throw. He's going to launch this thing, and the bounce house is officially bouncing. Touchdown, UCF, and the Knights knot it all up at 14 apiece, as that is a beautiful throw by Tyrone Smith to get his second passing touchdown of the night. As we get into the second half, actually, as things remain really close here, but fullback action might be the ultimate difference as Eastern Carolina, they once again take the lead late in the third quarter as they want to control their destiny in the Eastern Division of Conference USA. As now, Smith dropping back. He's going to launch another one over the left-hand side, and it's caught. Mossing the defender in the process. Touchdown, Golden Knights. And it's all tied up in the fourth quarter, 24 apiece. UCF looking for their first playoff appearance in this series, whereas Eastern Carolina, they are the defending conference champions, and they want to remain that way, but they got to win this game. Wilson on the outside. He's got space. No one catching him, and he is gone. Touchdown, Eastern Carolina. Make that 31-24 as the shootout keeps shooting, as that is just in too easy of a toss. Look at this. Does anyone even touch him? I don't think anyone does. That's the scary part. Too easy for the tailback for Eastern Carolina, as they looked at put a dagger in after UCF fails to score on the next possession. We got a direct snap to Wilson, and that's another touchdown for the Pirates. 38-24. And originally this house was bouncing here in the bounce house, and all of the sudden, let me tell you what, you could hear a squirrel fart in the stadium right now. That is how quiet and that is how stunned this crowd is, as Eastern Carolina is going to walk away with a big win on the road, which means they haven't clinched the division officially, not by any means. However, that being said, Eastern Carolina, they will control their own destiny in terms of getting to the Conference USA championship game. But great effort by UCF, though. It was an exciting matchup through and through. Unfortunately, they just ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, and that was ultimately the difference at the end of the day. So that does go ahead and conclude the Week 9 action here of the FCS Dynasty as we continue through the final stages of year number 2. And look who's getting some love on the ESPN cover. Our own James Madison squad, led by Coach Montano, talking about how his boys are ready to shock the college football world. I don't know if I would call it a shock necessarily, but James Madison is a very talented football team, that's for sure. But let's go ahead and check out these top 25 rankings here as we get into the final third of the season, as we check things out here. And right now, New Hampshire still sitting in second place, North Dakota State still in third, and then of course James Madison still remaining in the top 5. So not really any movement in that top 5. Eastern Carolina, they do end up moving up a couple of spots. Not really a lot of movement throughout the NCAA. A lot of different teams moving up. Eastern Carolina, they took a tumble down to number 13 after losing to a top 10 Eastern Carolina squad. Montana goes down 10 spots, down to number 17 in the country. So they were really penalized by that loss to Weber State, even though Weber State is a really talented football team. Georgia Southern, off their really big win against McNeese State, they move up one to number 19 in the nation. Northwestern State moves up to number 23 after a big win against Furman on the road. But two new teams in the top 25, though. We got Texas Southern at 5-2. They will make their first appearance in the top 25. And then Southeast Missouri State, they worked themselves back into the top 25 as well. They were kicked out after a loss to Eastern Kentucky, but after winning against Yale on the road, they are back at it with that number 25 ranking. But there's a bunch of teams on the outside looking in terms of that top 25, and that does include Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech, Weber State, Arkansas, Pine Bluff is in there as well. So definitely turning into a pretty tight race. Definitely a lot of good football that is still left to be played, as you know, these next few weeks are going to help determine who get those at-large spots in the event that some of these teams don't win a conference championship. But as we go ahead and check in on the players of the week, though, as we didn't see any Heisman finalists play in the week 9 action, Georgia Southern sweeping it here in week number 9 in their 63-7 win over McNeese State. Albert Miniacci, the junior redshirt at running back, he was a menace, of course. Over 250 all-purpose yards, plus 4 touchdowns to go with it as well. Meanwhile, on the defensive end, how about this for a name? The true freshman, Bubba Campbell. Now, that is a name. I love that name. 9 tackles, 8 TFLs, had 5 sacks in the game as well, plus a forced fumble to go with it. Bubba Campbell was all over that field and helped Georgia Southern get back to over 500 as they now sit at 4-3. So guys, that wraps up the week 9 episode as we are now in that final third of the regular season. It's been really exciting stuff. Next episode, not only we have 8 more really exciting games for you guys to go ahead and watch and be entertained, but we're also going to go ahead, check out the conference standings in the next episode, plus take a look at these conference races to definitely keep an eye out for as we go into the final stages of the regular season. So it's going to be a really exciting episode, and I hope you guys are ready for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, slack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button if you do happen to be brand new, as we are on the warpath to 2,000 subscribers, man. And if you want to join me on that journey, man, hit that sub button. But with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.